Sedmon. I'm an artist and designer based in Paris. My work explores digital network technologies and systems through their convergence with non-human intelligence, so plants, unicellular organisms, insects, or bacteria. To do so, I design and build biocomputers that manipulate or interact with life forms through the means of algorithms and sensors. As information is the force having the biggest impact on human societies and environments, these machines aims to highlight the tension between the prediction of biophenomena and the impact this computation can have on life systems when they are implemented at large scale. MindSpace is definitely a great opportunity as it is putting industrial and academic researchers in the same room while discussing technologies that will participate in the creation of the design paradigm of the next decade. My aim is to be using the core concept around MindSpace agent-based simulation, but applied to non-human life forms. So basically, to participate in the elaboration of a design framework for non-human manufacturing and for human planning in regard to environmental pressure.
My practice is at the intersection of sculpture, installation, and tech. I work a lot with silicone, producing large-scale pieces, but I also use video, produce sound works, especially in conjunction with the research on machine learning. My work is research-based. I'm interested in working within a holistic horizon, bringing different disciplines together, such as archaeology, paleoanthropology, neurosciences, philosophy, and even references from popular culture. I really see no hierarchy here. As an artist, I'm really interested in the complexity, the omnipotence, and the intertwined nature of the technological tools and systems we use. My work explores not only the tools themselves, but their resonance on language, empathy, cognition, ethics, how they impact the social fabric at large.
You 9 something everything loves silence something else to avoid the underworld loves silence.
MindSpaces is a great opportunity to engage in a meaningful dialogue with researchers, engineers, scientists, and have access to research, knowledge, and skills, tools that you don't necessarily come across easily as an artist. It's also given me a chance to explore my interest in brain architecture, memory triggers, memory formation, and language. I am looking at researching and developing human-machine emotionally oriented interaction or performance using sound, music, and machine learning. For this reason, I'm very interested in Beatrice de Gelder's work and research on emotion, cognition, and nonverbal communication at the Brain and Emotion Lab based in the Netherlands. Likewise, the Natural Language Processing Research Group led by Liovana at UPF Barcelona, including works by researcher Alexander Schwetz, is also really relevant to my interest in my work. I'm specifically thinking here about all the R&D and the tools developed in text generation, text summarization, and also sentiment analysis.
Something, shame, you, something, anything,
you,
treasure, something, everything, treasure, I, resolve, verses, five stones, treasure, surrender, shame, shame.
So, yeah, my name is Haseeb Ahmed. I'm an artist originally from the US, and I'm living and working here in Brussels. Often my work is relating to or employing technology, but it's not necessarily in order to create the most new or novel application of technology, but rather to use technology in order to pose a critique of the role that technology plays in our society, especially as we increasingly see it as one of the only means of progress, social progress or otherwise. So yeah, and in particular for the last I'd say 10 years or so, I've had an increasing focus on ideas related to wind and air and all of the particular narratives and particulates that are carried in the wind. And in order to do this, I'm often working with collaboratively with physicists, aeronautical engineers, but also florists, sound composers as well, and working also site specifically with the conditions created within wind tunnels. MindSpaces for me is an opportunity to further explore and develop an area of interest that I've had in my work for quite some time. So I'm working with the pilot case that relates to workspaces within office spaces. And in particular, I'm really interested in the air conditions that are created within contemporary office buildings, especially when they're sustainable office buildings that often prevent windows from being opened, and as a result you have the same kind of volume of air being recirculated and recycled throughout the building. And it's kind of like the lungs or respiratory of a building or of architecture. And what I'm very interested in is seeing how can we read the contemporary conditions of labor through how air is moving through a space, how heat and air is being exchanged between people and machines, between machines and machines. How does the air become a fluid medium on which all of these conditions of labor are inscribed? And I think this is what I'm interested in developing while working with MindSpaces partners who are very interested in working between the virtual and the actual. So in particular, I'm looking at computational fluid dynamic simulations, so simulations of how air moves within closed spaces on a computer, and how that might relate to our actual experience one-to-one, as we might feel it on our skin, for example. Well, what I'd like to achieve on the one hand is a body of research which is deepening this interest in air as it relates to architecture. But I'd also like to see what comes about through what are the new kind of insights that come about through interaction with some of the MindSpaces partners. So for instance, I'm very excited about working with McNeil and partners who developed the software Rhino. It's a tool that I've been using for 3D modeling since I think 2008 for the last 10-12 years or so. And so this is a chance to really use this as an experimental format rather than only being like a kind of end user. I'm also interested in the kind of contemporary architectural conditions that are created in particular by Zaha Hadid architects, who are also one of the partners for MindSpaces. So I'm curious about the fluid forms that are created through this computational geometry. How is that experienced as well, and how does that also allow for artwork to exist within those forms when the forms of the architecture themselves are so strong? So these are questions I think that start the conversation, but as it develops, I'm excited to see where it will go.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel Kolob. In my art practice, I'm looking at the intersection of aesthetic research and human-AI interaction. Since 3 years now, I'm especially focusing on non-task brain activity and how doing nothing is perceived in today's society. While tackling this question, I created several robotic art installations over the last years. In my recent work, I cooperated with the contemporary composer Amin Sanaye, and together we created a performance in which a violin player is improvising a modular violin play while being connected with my art installation Doing Nothing with AI. For me, MindSpaces has the potential of a more holistic process, circulating between artistic experience, scientific knowledge, as well as technological applications. Also because I believe that art should take a more crucial role in today's research process, contributing or having the possibility to contribute to facts and discussions within the process rather than after. My personal motivation to join MindSpaces lies in my interest to get an exchange with scientists, architects, as well as technologists approaching the field of generative aesthetic and spectator resonance from another direction than I do. For my artist residency at MindSpaces, I want to connect to the use case inspiring workplaces and bring in my focus on non-task brain activity. If we take a closer look, there is not too much substance in checking our emails every 10 minutes or scrolling our news feed up and down. To be honest, this could be even more productive, just taking these 5 minutes before the next meeting to actually let your mind wander and do nothing.
I know I can take one more step towards you.
My name is Emmanuel van der Auwera. I'm an artist based in Brussels, Belgium. I'm an artist that has always been interested into question of representation or the limits of representation. So my work developed through many mediums, from filmmaking, sculpture, photography, installation, theater, and it kind of always circle around an urgent question that I identify as the one of our times, where technology is radically altering the experience of human and interhuman communication, human-to-machine communication, and kind of blur the line between a world of construction, simulation, operating images, projection, fantasy, and also reality. MindSpace is a project that kind of try to grasp and anticipate a future where we live in fluent synchronicity with technology. I'm looking for a way to critically engage with this vision, to be able to look for the imprevisibility in this scenario. MindSpace is a great opportunity for me because it creates this dialogue between researcher and specialist private company who has knowledge in state-of-the-art technology and artists. I'm particularly interested in what MK Lab is doing, or Up2Matrix and the Brain and Emotion Laboratory of Professor De Gelder. MK Lab is focusing a lot on how to make sense of the huge amount of data that is produced every day on the World Wide Web. So they're looking for new way to visualize intuitively this immense amount of information. The lab of Professor De Gelder is looking to dig deeper in the science of our emotion to understand how we behave, and with the mediation of technology, do we still recognize ourselves when we are facing the avatar of ourselves, for example. And I found very engaging all these topics. As a first hint of the work that I would be making, I've gathered video footage, surveillance footage from news TV chopper during the Black Lives Matter protest. And I would very much like to see with Up2Matrix what type of information we could extract and gather from this footage.
My name is João Martinho Moura. I'm a media artist working on embodiment in virtual environments. I'm interested in collaborating with MindSpaces Consortium in the field of embodiment, neurosciences, and telepresence. I will work with the Brain and Emotion Laboratory at Maastricht University, led by Professor Beatriz de Gelder, to develop my ideas related to emotion and presence and out-of-body sensations in the urban space. In this experience, I'm teleported to l'Hospitalet de Llobregat, a municipality in Spain located in the southwest of Barcelona.
Destinació Hospitalet de Llobregat. Pròxima arribada el dia 1 per via